My name is Claire. One Christmas lunch, my own mother told me to leave her house because I was a leech, and everyone stayed quiet. What happened after that changed who held power in our family. If you've lived through something similar, share your story in the comments. The table was already crowded when Patricia started talking. Plates moved. Someone asked for the salt. A cousin argued about football. Then my mother cleared her throat and said my name the way people do when they want witnesses. "Claire, you're 24, she said. You've been living off me long enough." Forks paused. Someone gave a small laugh that didn't land anywhere. Patricia kept going, steady, practiced. "I don't know when you plan to grow up," she added, "but it's not happening here." Aunt Linda's lips pressed together. My uncle stared at his plate like it had complicated instructions. No one interrupted. The timing felt deliberate, like she'd waited until everyone was seated so nobody could pretend they missed it. "I work," I said. Patricia waved that off. "You help. That's different." She leaned back and folded her arms, satisfied, as if the point had finally been proven. A cousin reached for another roll. Someone muttered, "Well," and let the word die. "You're done," she said. "There's no place for you at this table anymore." A chair scraped as I shifted. Patricia nodded toward the hallway. "Take your coat. Go." There was no warning, no side conversation, no lowered voice, just an order delivered between bites of turkey. A few people exchanged glances, the kind that mean relief it isn't happening to them. I stood. The motion felt automatic, like muscle memory. My napkin stayed where it was. No one pushed back their chair to follow. Someone asked if the gravy was too thick. At the door, Patricia added one more thing, softer now, almost helpful. "You'll thankful for this someday." That earned a chuckle from somewhere near the end of the table. Not mean, just awkward. The kind of sound people make when they want the moment to pass. My coat came off the hook. Keys slid into my hand. No tears showed up to complicate the exit. Patricia turned back to the table before I finished putting my arm through the sleeve. "Who wants pie?" she asked. A few hands went up. The door closed behind me. Through it, voices resumed their usual rhythm. Someone complained about dry meat. Another person joked about leftovers. The meal carried on, efficient, unbothered. On the porch, my phone buzzed once. A text from a cousin appeared. She didn't mean it like that. The message sat there, helpful as a receipt after a refund denial. I slid the phone into my pocket and stepped away from the house. Behind me, laughter rose again, louder now that the interruption had been handled. A chair scraped. Glasses clinked. The schedule recovered. Down the steps, across the yard, the sound thinned, but didn't stop. It followed long enough to make the point clear. Lunch was still on, and my absence fit just fine. The parking lot sat half full when I reached my car. Two uncles stood near their trunks, still talking. One nodded at me without changing the subject. The other pretended not to notice. Engines started. Doors slammed. The afternoon moved on. By the time I pulled onto the street, my phone had already filled itself. Missed calls from relatives who hadn't spoken to me in months. A message from Aunt Linda arrived first. "She's under a lot of stress." Another followed from a cousin. "You didn't have to make a scene." That one landed cleanly. I hadn't raised my voice. Still, the story had adjusted itself on the way out the door. At a stoplight, a voicemail came through. Patricia's voice sounded composed, almost tired. "I hope you're safe," she said. I did what I had to do. The light changed. Traffic moved. The message kept playing. "I've given everything," she added. "People don't see that." She hung up before the sentence finished. Marisol answered on the second ring. "Can I crash with you?" I asked. A pause, then a breath. "For how long?" "A bit." "Bring cash," she said, "and your toothbrush." The apartment sat above a bakery that smelled like sugar even after hours. Marisol opened the door and stepped aside, already holding a legal pad. "We'll keep it simple," she said. $300 a month, no overnight guests, no family updates." "That works." She pointed to the couch. "You're on that. Don't take it personally." A bag landed at my feet. Sheets, a towel. Practical welcome. No questions followed, which felt like a gift. By morning, the phone started again. Patricia had been busy. A neighbor from the old block sent a message asking if everything was okay. A former coworker asked whether I'd landed somewhere. The phrasing spread fast. Landed. As if I'd fallen from a height. At a grocery store, someone recognized me near the freezer aisle. "Your mom's been worried sick," the woman said. "She says you stormed out." "I left," I said. "Well," she replied, dragging the word out, "parents do their best." She rolled her cart away, satisfied with the exchange. Marisol watched this happen from the end of the aisle. "People like a simple story," she said later. "Yours has been edited for time." Work filled the gaps. Mornings at a diner, washing dishes for cash. Afternoons delivering groceries. Evenings scrolling city forms on Marisol's cracked laptop, learning which boxes mattered. The website timed out every 15 minutes. When it froze, a banner popped up. "Your session has expired." It felt personal. At the diner, the manager looked me over. "You reliable?" he asked. "Yes." "You got baggage?" "Only what I carry." That earned a short nod. Shifts stacked. My hands stayed busy. Sleep adjusted itself around alarms. On the third day, a cousin cornered me near a bus stop. "You know she cried, right?" "That happens," I said. "She fed you, housed you, and now I'm feeding myself." He frowned, unsure whether that counted as gratitude. At Marisol's place, rent money went into an envelope on the counter every Friday. She counted it without comment. When a pan burned, she handed me another. "Learn fast," she said, "or eat mistakes." A message from Patricia came through one evening. "I told them you refused help." No punctuation, no greeting. Minutes later, another followed. "I would never turn my back on you." The contradiction sat there, unbothered. A week later, a guy from the diner mentioned a kitchen that rented overnight hours. "They need prep hands," he said. "Nothing fancy." The building smelled like bleach and old oil. A clipboard waited by the door. The supervisor glanced at my ID. "You available nights?" "Yes." "Sign here." No speech. No background check story, just a pen and a line. As I wrote my name, the printer beside us spit out a form. At the bottom, a line read, "Welcome. We appreciate your flexibility." The word choice felt generous, considering the pay. The supervisor tore off my copy. "Clock's on the wall," he said. "Don't miss it." The pen clicked shut. My name dried on the page. Somewhere across town, Patricia was still explaining herself to anyone who would listen. In this kitchen, the only thing that mattered was showing up on time. I tied on an apron and stepped into the shift as the clock changed, the contract folded into my pocket, still warm from the printer. The city office opened early, and the line formed without conversation. Clipboards passed from hand to hand. Pens went missing. A screen flashed numbers that never seemed to match anyone's place. When my turn came, the clerk slid a packet across the counter. "Fill what applies," she said. "If it doesn't, leave it blank." The forms asked about names, aliases, prior filings. Halfway down the second page, a box caught my attention. Prior financial representations. My name appeared beneath it, already typed, paired with a date from years back. The font matched everything else. The timing didn't. "That's not mine," I said. The clerk leaned over, squinting. "Happens," she replied. "Family businesses leave long shadows." She stamped the page and moved on, the matter settled on her end. The system didn't need clarification yet. A request for records followed. The website promised delivery in 5 to 7 business days, then asked for a processing fee. After payment, an automated email arrived. "Thank you for your patience." Patience, apparently, could be billed. By noon, relatives started calling. Not directly. Messages came filtered through people who preferred harmony to accuracy. "Your mom wants to talk," one text read. "Just clear the air." Another suggested lunch. Neutral ground. As if geography had caused the problem. Patricia chose the timing carefully. Her message arrived between shifts. "I am sick over this," she wrote. I never thought you'd turn it into paperwork." The word never carried weight, despite frequent use. A follow-up came minutes later. "All those years I handled things for you. You trusted me." Trust had been assumed, not discussed. At Marisol's table, papers spread out in uneven stacks. She flipped through them, finger-tracing dates. "Anything with your name on it belongs to you," she said, "even when you didn't know it existed." "So what now?" "Now you don't text back," she replied. "You save everything." The advice landed firm, not comforting. She slid a folder toward me. "Scan it. Keep copies. Screenshots, too." In the kitchen that night, prep orders doubled. A neighborhood association booked trays for a meeting. Someone else requested boxed lunches for a school fundraiser. The menu stayed simple. The margins didn't. A volunteer asked how long the business had been running. "Longer than it looks," I said. She nodded, satisfied with that answer. During a break, a cousin cornered me by the sinks. "She's not sleeping," he said. "You're hurting her." The faucet kept running. Soap slid off my hands. "She locked the door," I replied. "She'll manage." He shook his head as if the roles had been reversed. Paperwork thickened. A bank statement surfaced through the city request portal, stamped with my name and a note about authorized representation. Patricia's signature appeared beside it, tidy and confident. A disclaimer followed. "This information is provided as is." The phrasing felt generous. Another message arrived from Patricia, longer this time. "I did what any mother would do. You didn't want the stress." No question mark, no space for response. Marisol glanced at the phone and raised an eyebrow. "She's building a record," she said. "Let her." At a community center event, a man asked about invoicing. He needed receipts. He needed insurance numbers. "Can you email that tonight?" he asked. "Yes." The catering work expanded sideways, not up. More names, more forms. Each document tightened the picture, connecting dates that didn't line up with my memory. The pattern held steady. Patricia had stood in for me more than once, not for emergencies, for convenience. The city portal sent another notice. "Your request has been fulfilled." The attachment arrived broken into parts. One file refused to open. A second showed a ledger. A third displayed a note in small print. "Reviewed by Guardian." Guardian. The word lingered longer than it should have. Aunt Linda called the next morning. "This has gone far enough," she said. "Families don't involve offices." "Offices are already involved," I replied. She sighed. "You always were difficult." At the kitchen, a supervisor stopped by. "Good work," he said. "We'll need you again next week." A clipboard changed hands. Another slot filled. That afternoon, Marisol slid a business card across the table. A local attorney. Small practice. No slogan. "You don't need answers yet," she said. "You need someone who reads footnotes." The office sat above a tax service. A bell rang when the door opened. The attorney shook my hand and asked for the basics. Papers moved from one side of the desk to the other. "Representation can get messy," he said, "especially when family's involved." "I know." He nodded, unsurprised. "We'll start with a consult," he continued. "No commitments." The fee posted at the bottom of the page. Reasonable. Payable up front. As I signed, his printer hummed and spit out a receipt. At the top, a line read, "Client intake completed." The phrase carried no judgment, just acknowledgement. Outside, the phone buzzed again. Patricia's name lit up the screen, followed by another message. "Please don't do this." The lawyer didn't soften it. He stacked the papers, aligned the edges, and spoke the way people do when they've said this before. "If those filings stay unresolved, you carry the exposure," he said, "even if you didn't authorize them." A pause followed, not for drama, just for clarity. Family doesn't cancel liability. The note he slid across the desk listed steps and timelines. None of them were short. None of them were free. My phone vibrated before I reached the elevator. Patricia called twice. I didn't answer. She left a message anyway, voice breaking on cue. "I can't believe you do this to me," she said. "I'm your mother." The next one came louder. You're tearing the family apart. By the time the elevator reached the lobby, a third message arrived, quieter, steadier. Call me back. We'll fix it. At the bank, a clerk with a neat bun reviewed my ID and typed without looking up. You've got a flag, she said. For what? Review, she replied. It's automatic. A screen turned toward me. A transaction dated years back sat there, highlighted. My name appeared at the top. An authorization note followed, brief and confident. Can I get a copy? I asked. She nodded and printed it, the machine humming as if pleased to be useful. At the bottom, a line read, "This record reflects information on file." The wording felt careful. Nobody had promised accuracy. Outside, the phone kept working. A group text from relatives lit up with suggestions. Just apologize. Stop digging. You're embarrassing her. Someone added a thumbs up to that last one, the closest thing to a vote. At the kitchen, the supervisor pulled me aside. Your big order for Friday, he said? It's off. What happened? They called, he replied. Concerns. No details, no appeal. The clipboard moved on to the next name. The loss stung in numbers, not pride. That order had paid for 2 weeks. Without it, the calendar looked thinner. Hours stayed long. Paychecks didn't. Marisol watched me count envelopes on the table. Cash flow's wobbling, she said. I know. Cut where you can, she added. Don't cut paper. Another message from Patricia appeared, longer this time, structured like a confession that avoided facts. I was protecting you, she wrote. You never wanted responsibility. The sentence ended without punctuation, as if the claim stood on its own. A voicemail followed, this one tearful again. They're saying awful things about me, she said. I don't deserve this. At the old block, a neighbor crossed the street to intercept me. Your mom's been through a lot, she said. People talk. They do, I replied. She said you're trying to take what's hers. The accusation landed with a thud, impressive in its reach. I'm trying to sort my name, I said. The neighbor pursed her lips, unconvinced, then brightened. Family's complicated, she offered, as if that settled it. Work stacked in odd ways. Extra shifts at the diner, fewer catering bookings. The city portal sent reminders with friendly subject lines. Action required. Final notice. Each email ended with thanks. At the lawyer's office, the assistant called to reschedule. Court conflict, she said. It happens. Patricia called again while I waited for a bus. You're forcing my hand, she said. I don't know why you're being like this. A cousin sent a text minutes later. She's devastated. The bus arrived late. The driver shrugged. Traffic, he said. At Marisol's place, a letter waited on the counter. Bank logo, plain envelope, addressed to me. The notice referenced a prior transaction under review. It listed a sum I didn't recognize and a date that didn't fit any job I'd held. A line near the bottom explained the next steps. Please contact us within 10 business days. Marisol read it once, then set it down. That's not small, she said. No, then you don't ignore it. A call from the bank followed, number verified. The representative spoke carefully. We're conducting a routine audit, she said. There's an item associated with your account history. I didn't make that transaction. We understand, she replied. Our records show authorized representation. The phrase returned, unchanged. What happens now? I asked. We'll need documentation, she said, and time. Time, apparently, was still available for purchase. The call ended with a survey invitation. Your feedback matters. The envelope count came up short again. Rent sat in its place, sealed and ready. Everything else waited. Marisol leaned against the counter, watching the math happen without commentary. You're burning both ends, she said. That catches up. I'll cover it, I replied. With what? The question stayed open. A coffee brewed and went untouched. Another message from Patricia appeared while the kettle cooled. I'm not well, she wrote. My doctor says stress is dangerous at my age. A photo followed. Hospital bracelet. Date cropped out. Marisol glanced at the screen. That's efficient, she said. Medical records always get attention. At the attorney's office, the door shut behind us with a practiced click. He didn't rush. Papers spread, a yellow pad filled line by line. The exposure grows the longer this sits, he said. If the filings stay as is, you inherit intent. And if they don't, then someone else answers. Patricia called during the meeting. The phone vibrated itself across the desk. He waited until it stopped. "You're being positioned," he added. "Silence helps the story stick." Outside, my aunt flagged me down near the elevator. "She's at the hospital," she said. "You should come." The parking lot held the usual mix, nurses changing shifts, visitors pacing. Patricia lay propped up, alert enough to watch the door. "You look thin," she said. "Are you eating?" "I am." Her hand moved toward mine, then stopped halfway. "I never wanted this," she continued. "I handled things because you couldn't." A nurse checked the monitor, uninterested in the speech. "You signed papers," I said. "For you," Patricia replied. "That's what parents do." The nurse returned with a clipboard. "Signature here," she said to Patricia. A pen scratched. The form accepted it without question. In the hallway, a cousin waited, arms folded. "This isn't new," she said quietly. "She did it with your brother, too." "What happened?" "Same thing," she replied. "Different excuse." Back at Marisol's, the call log filled again. Family numbers rotated through, each with a variation on the same theme. Be the bigger person. She's fragile. You'll regret this. A voicemail from Patricia followed, calmer than the hospital pitch. "I just want us back," she said, "before lawyers ruin everything." The attorney called an hour later. "If you want to stop this," he said, "we can. If you want it clear, we file." "What does filing do?" "It freezes the narrative," he replied. "Paper beats memory." Marisol slid a folder across the table. Copies stacked, labeled, neat. "You don't owe comfort," she said. "You owe accuracy." Another hospital message arrived, this one shorter. "They're running tests," Patricia wrote. "I'm scared." A bill notification followed immediately after, automated. "Payment due." The contrast landed harder than either alone. At the office the next morning, the attorney placed a document in front of me. Request for investigation. Names, dates, attachments. "This opens everything," he said. "There's no half-step." My phone buzzed again. Patricia once more. "If you do this," she said in a text, "don't come back." The sentence felt late. A clerk passed by with a cart of files, humming. The printer jammed and beeped until someone reset it. Systems insisted on completion. "Take your time," the attorney said. The pen waited. Marisol's words lingered. So did the bank notice, the canceled order, the neighbor's certainty. Patricia called again. The phone stayed face down. I signed. The attorney gathered the pages, clipped them, and stood. "I'll submit this today," he said. "You'll get confirmation." Outside, traffic rolled past. A siren wailed somewhere and faded. At the corner, a coffee shop advertised refills. Back at the apartment, the kettle finally emptied. A night shift loomed. Apron by the door, schedule unchanged. The email arrived before I left. Request received. No greeting, no warning. The attorney didn't start with explanations. He set a stack of statements on the desk and slid the top page forward. These were filed under a parent support designation, he said, used when a guardian manages funds on behalf of a dependent. The dates ran longer than I expected. Year after year. My name appeared consistently. So did Patrick's signature, steady and familiar. "She couldn't do that," I said. "She did," he replied, "and she benefited." At the bank, a manager joined us in a glassed-in office meant to feel neutral. Her badge reflected policy, not opinion. "These accounts were opened with appropriate authority at the time," she said. "The designation was never updated." "So she stayed on them," the attorney said. "Yes," the manager answered, "until now." She tapped the screen and turned it toward us. Interest distributions, transfers, small withdrawals that added up. None of it flashy, all of it consistent. "We're placing a temporary hold," she continued. "Standard procedure." A form printed. The header read, "Interim Restriction Notice." Beneath it, a sentence promised review. "Thank you for your cooperation." The phrase showed up again at the city building an hour later. A clerk accepted the packet without commentary. "You'll hear from us," she said. "Response times vary." On the way out, my phone rang. Patricia didn't wait for a greeting. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Reading," I said. Her voice sharpened. "I never took anything," she said. "I managed it." "For yourself." "For the family," she corrected. The line went silent, then filled again with a softer tone. "I'm sorry if I crossed a line," she added. "We can fix this without strangers." A message followed immediately after the call ended. I didn't know it would look like this. At Marisol's table, the folder grew thicker. She scanned the pages, then set them down. "She planned this," she said, "slow enough to feel normal." Another text arrived from Patricia. "I was trying to help you get started." The bank sent an automated alert at the same time. Account status updated. Dark humor showed up in the timing, not the words. At the attorney's office again, the assistant brought coffee and an estimate. Hours, fees, retainers. "This won't be quick," the attorney said, "and it won't be cheap." Patricia called while he spoke. The ringtone cut through the room. "You don't answer now," Marisol said. "Let the paper talk." Family lines split cleanly once the notices went out. A cousin replied with one sentence, "I didn't know." Another stopped responding altogether. An aunt sent a message meant to sound balanced. Both sides made mistakes. The city sent a request for clarification, stamped and numbered. The language avoided blame. "Please provide supporting documentation." The bank followed with another email. "Your patience is appreciated." Patricia's apology arrived late that night. "I never meant to hurt you," she wrote. "I was scared." A second message contradicted it. "If you keep going, this will destroy me." At the hospital, a nurse handed Patricia a letter addressed to her by full name. She read it twice before speaking. "They're asking questions," she said over the phone. "This is serious." "It is," I replied. She inhaled, steadying herself. "We can settle," she said. "I'll step back." The attorney listened to the recording later and nodded. "That's the pivot," he said, "when leverage shifts." The city building scheduled an intake meeting. A calendar invite arrived with a polite subject line, "Next steps." Another automated message followed, cheerful in tone. "We look forward to assisting you." Costs climbed. Time stretched. The risk sat there, acknowledged and active. Still, the pattern stayed clear. Paper told the story without raising its voice. Patricia called again, this time restrained. "They sent me something," she said. "I don't understand it." "What does it say?" She hesitated. "Notice of inquiry," she read. "Request for explanation." The bus pulled up as she spoke. People stepped on and off, schedules intact. "I need you," she added. "You need a lawyer," I said. The call ended without goodbye. A message from the city arrived moments later, confirming receipt of her response deadline. Failure to comply may result in further action. No threat, no comfort. At the apartment, Marisol stacked the folders by date. "This is moving," she said. Outside, traffic carried on. Somewhere across town, Patricia was opening official mail, learning how systems speak when they don't recognize family ties. The lawyer didn't ask how I felt. He asked what I wanted separated. "Everything," I said. He nodded once and pulled a fresh set of forms from the drawer. "No shared authority," he said. "No assumptions. No courtesy clauses." Pages moved across the desk. Each line cut a thread. Names corrected. Roles removed. Dates locked in. The language stayed plain, almost kind in how little it cared. A message from Patricia arrived midway through. "I can explain this," she wrote. The phone stayed face down. At the notary's office, a woman with a tired smile checked my ID twice and slid the stamp closer. "Sign where highlighted," she said. initial the margins. The stamp came down with a dull thud, final and unceremonious. A printer coughed and produced copies. At the bottom of each page, a line confirmed completion. Executed. No applause, no warning. Outside, the attorney tucked the folder under his arm. "That's clean," he said. "She can't touch anything now." "Good." "She'll try," he added, "but she won't succeed." The house listing appeared 2 days later. Same block, same school zone. One property between us. A realtor answered the phone with rehearsed cheer. "Interest is steady," she said, "but nothing's final." It didn't need to be fast. It needed to be correct. Bank transfers cleared in stages. Each approval arrived with polite phrasing. Funds verified. Source confirmed. Proceed. The tone suggested encouragement, like a system rooting for accuracy. At the signing, the realtor slid a pen across the table. "Congratulations," she said. The word landed oddly, considering the route taken to get there. A neighbor paused while watering her lawn when she saw me step onto the porch for the first time. "Oh," she said, "so that's settled." "Yes." She tilted her head. "Your mom's been having a time." "So I've heard." The hose kept running. The story adjusted again, this time with fewer volunteers. At the kitchen, orders picked up. A local business booked a holiday spread. Someone asked if I could handle extra desserts. "Yes," I said. Payment arrived on time. Receipts matched deposits. The city portal sent a brief update. Status resolved. Another email followed, almost friendly. "Thank you for keeping your records current." Patricia tried once more. A voicemail, restrained. "I didn't know it would go this far," she said. "You've made your point." No response went back. At the old block, a cousin waved from across the street, but didn't cross it. Another neighbor nodded, then asked about catering rates. "Send me a menu," she said. The house closed on a Tuesday. Keys changed hands without ceremony. The realtor smiled again. Same expression, different client. "Enjoy the holidays," she said. Boxes stacked in the living room. Marisol dropped by with a spare lamp. "Temporary," she said, "until you decide what stays." Outside, a delivery truck idled. Across the fence, Patricia's curtains shifted, then settled. No greeting came through. Mail arrived addressed only to me. Utility accounts switched cleanly. A welcome packet from the city landed in the box. New resident information. The timing felt deliberate, though it wasn't. At the bank, the manager confirmed final adjustments. "No further flags," she said. "You're clear." A survey link followed. "Tell us how we did." The neighborhood newsletter mentioned the sale in one line. No commentary, no backstory. Patricia's name stopped appearing in my notifications. Family messages slowed, then stopped altogether. The silence felt administrative, not emotional. One evening, as December crept closer, I carried a box to the curb and nearly ran into the realtor again. "Busy season," she said. "Good problem to have." "Yes." Across the street, holiday lights blinked on in uneven patterns. Schedules stayed intact. The calendar filled. Orders confirmed. Deposits cleared. I locked the door and checked tomorrow's list while the block settled into its routine. Christmas approaching without waiting for anyone to reconcile. The street filled early that afternoon. Cars lined the curb in uneven gaps, neighbors carrying trays they insisted didn't need reheating. Someone knocked before the doorbell worked. Another person let themselves in after being waved from the sidewalk. The house handled it fine. Across the fence, Patricia's place stayed still. Curtains shifted once, then stopped. A notice from the bank arrived in the morning mail, thin and official. It confirmed what had already been said in meetings and emails. Records updated, access removed. Further questions directed elsewhere. The language avoided names. The effect didn't. A cousin texted around noon. "She's not saying much anymore." That was the most generous update anyone had offered in weeks. In the kitchen, trays moved in steady rotation. Labels faced out. Allergies double-checked. The system I'd built didn't require commentary. It only needed timing. Marisol showed up with a bottle she'd insisted wasn't for cooking. You hosting or catering? She asked. Both. She set the bottle down and scanned the room. You did this the hard way. Yes. That's the only way it sticks. Neighbors filtered through, some curious, some familiar from orders placed months back. A small business owner asked about January availability. Another asked if deposits were refundable. They are, I said, in writing. Laughter moved through the room, unforced. Not relief, just ease. The message to Patricia went out an hour before sunset. One line, no greeting. If you're hungry, the door next door is open. The phone stayed face down afterward. Music played from someone's speaker, low enough to talk over. A kid spilled juice and apologized before being told it was fine. A neighbor offered to help clean and was redirected to dessert. Across the fence, Patricia stood on her porch for a moment, coat pulled tight. She didn't wave. Nobody waved back. The boundary held without effort. A woman from 2 houses down leaned in. Bold move, she said, nodding toward the fence. It's dinner, I replied. She smiled, satisfied with that answer. Paperwork arrived electronically as the night went on. A final confirmation from the city. A brief note from the attorney marking closure on his end. All matters resolved, it read. No congratulations, no advice. Patricia didn't call. A letter from her lawyer arrived instead, brief and formal. Requests routed through counsel, communication limited. The kind of message meant to end conversation, not start it. The party thinned naturally. People left with containers they hadn't brought, chairs folded. Someone promised to book again in spring. Marisol stayed behind, rinsing glasses. She didn't come over, she said. No. Good. Outside, the block returned to its routine. Lights blinked on in mismatched patterns. A delivery truck passed without stopping. Work emails queued up for the following week. A catering request came in from a nonprofit looking for something simple. The budget worked. The timeline did too. I typed a reply and scheduled the invoice. Across the fence, Patricia's porch light clicked off. The house went dark without announcement. A neighbor waved from her driveway while loading dishes into her car. See you around, she said. Yes. The last tray slid into the fridge. Counters wiped. Floors handled later. There was no rush. A text from the bank arrived with a subject line that tried to sound friendly. Your account is in good standing. The phrasing felt earned. I stepped outside to take the trash down, jacket pulled on against the cold. The fence stood where it always had. On the other side, nothing moved. Back in the kitchen, Marisol poured the bottle she'd brought. To boring holidays, she said. Agreed. She left shortly after, keys jingling as she went. The door closed. The house settled into its new scale. I checked tomorrow's prep list and adjusted quantities. Fewer people, same standards. The sink filled, the towel waited. Outside, a car door shut. Somewhere down the block, laughter carried and faded. I turned off the lights one by one and moved back into the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, the work continuing at its own pace. Nothing left to prove, just things to finish.